Hi, Katie. It's nice to speak with you
Hi.
today.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for having me.
All right. So the way I know you is I was following Chicago Party Ant on Twitter, and I really did think it was real. Really, I was
You really thought it was a real woman that was.
because I don't remember. It might have been last year, but the city of Chicago's Twitter tagged you in something, and I thought she is like the town crier or like the influencer, and I thought for real, like this is really cool. This is really cool. And then when I found out about a Netflix show, I thought I've been stumped all these years. So that's how I know you. A, and then B, one of your friends is Maria, and she's in my mom group.
Isn't that
Cliche.
crazy?
And I found out you went to Sandburg. And so I thought, this is so cool. Someone hyper local to the Southland has
Yeah.
this amazing thing going on. So I thought I'd reach out.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
Where did you grow up?
By Ford City Mall. Eventually, we, especially like to go to Sandburg and stuff like that, we moved to Orland.
Mhm.
And so that's where I went to high school and everything like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right now, do you call home New York?
So I was in New York, then I came back to Chicago for a little, and then I was in the process of moving to LA
Mhm.
actually. And
Ooh,
then now everything is sort of delayed because of the global pandemic.
yeah,
But right now I am in Chicago. I'm in a hotel, but I am in Chicago right now.
very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you first start to develop a passion for what you're doing right now with comedy?
It was actually at Sandburg, and we went. Mr. Sackett was our drama teacher. He's Maria's guy too. And we went my freshman year to go see Second City, and the cast at the time was Steve Carell and a few other like just incredible people. And I remember watching it and being like, what is this a thing? Like, can I do this? And ever since then, I knew that that's whatever Second City was what I wanted to do.
Did you study at Second City?
So I never studied there because I made a deal with myself to finish college before I actually pursued all that. And it only took me 7 years to finish college. And so I had taken some classes at IO, which is another improv theater. And then I was performing there. And then through that is how I got to be at Second City.
Wow.
Yeah.
IO, sorry, I'm not familiar. What does IO stand
So
for?
IO stands for Improv Olympic, but they had to change the name because the International Olympic Committee sued them because I guess people were going to get confused that
Oh,
they were going to see athletes when it was clearly an improv theater in Chicago. So they had to change it to IO.
oh, how did you get finally to SNL?
So I had done main stage at Second City for about 3 years or so, and I had auditioned for SNL, so I knew people there. They kind of knew me, and then Cecily Strong, who was a dear friend, and she actually understudied me at Second City, if you can believe it. She kind of pushed a little bit harder to get me there as well. So that's how that happened. So I kind of like took a leap of faith. I knew I was done at Second City. I didn't know what I wanted to do next, and so I kind of said, I'm leaving, and we'll see what happens. And then not soon after, SNL happened. So that was pretty cool.
So I'm curious, what is your favorite skit or bit that you've written for SNL?
So I mostly wrote for Weekend Update.
Oh,
So we didn't really necessarily write sketches, so to speak, that you would see on the show. We worked on that segment, and so I mean it was so cool to get to do that. We had so much fun. We got to. I don't know if you remember, Jebediah Atkinson was a character that Taryn used to do. He was the critic from the eight. There was a article that the New York Times had printed a retraction from whoever had reviewed the Gettysburg Address. This is a real thing. And his name was Jebediah Atkinson, and I guess he like torched it, like just hated it. And so they finally had printed a retraction. And this was before I got there. And Seth Meyers was like, that is the best character. And so they came up with this character, Jebediah Atkinson, that Taryn played, who just hates everything. And so by the time I got there, I got to work on that. And that was so much fun because it was just such a great premise, and such, it was so ripe for just joke after joke after joke after joke. But everything, I mean, working with Cecily on her characters was so fun. Keenan, working with him, Kate, I mean, everybody. It was just, it was such a blast to get to work on that segment.
What's something interesting that has happened since the series announcement for you?
We've been working on this show. I went from SNL, where you write something and sometimes it's on TV in 30 seconds, to animation, which takes forever. And so we've actually been working on this for almost 3 years. And so, but I wasn't really able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, well, what are you doing? And it was always like, I have a thing that I'm doing. And so for me, what's been the best part about that announcement is I can be like, this is what we were working on. And we were so proud to just share it. But seeing people from not just Chicago, but all over be like, I have a party aunt, like, or I'm the party aunt, seeing how that trope resonates is so cool.
So I understand that you couldn't talk about it. How did you and the team, your partners, how did the idea of Chicago Party Ants start? Was it, what was the inspiration? What was the driving force? Was it just for fun? Was it just a way for all of you to sharpen your comedy chops in a way that was kind of, nameless, anonymous?
So it was started by Chris Witowski. He is a Second City alum, and he was living in LA, and he kind of was just homesick and bored. And so it was just a thing to make himself laugh and like make his friends laugh. And so we would kind of interact with the account, and it sort of seemed like we were yelling at like a middle-aged woman. And from there, a gentleman named Richie Schwartz, who is one of the executive producers on our show, and he's done a million things, he was like, this could be something. This could actually be, this character could be something more. And so he sort of spearheaded putting together the group of us that worked, that have worked on the show. And we're all from Chicago. We all have roots, at Second City and stuff like that. So there was a common language and a common understanding that you don't often get. You don't often get when you're working on a show. So we were really lucky.
Were you guys approached, or did one or a few of you pitch to Netflix?
We all pitched to Netflix. So we pitched to a bunch of places. We took it out and did the old pitching and grinding that way. And yeah, we were lucky enough that Netflix wanted to play ball with us. So
do you think that you have to move out to LA or New York? Because I feel like a lot of, for example, Chicago, a lot of the Chicago talent like Bonnie Hunt, Stephen Colbert, etc.
yeah.
It seems that they had to really, their springboard was when they moved away.
Well, the answer is yes and no. You're going to, and it all comes down to numbers, right? So if you're in Los Angeles, you're going to have an infinite more amount of opportunities than you would in Chicago. If you're in New York, you're going to have less than Los Angeles, but more than, Mm-hmm. So yes, in some senses. But that being said, there still is a global pandemic that has shown us that we can do things remotely. Almost all of Chicago Party Ant was done remotely, which was crazy, but also, we pulled it off. And so that's something to keep in mind. But the main thing to keep in mind too, if you're in Chicago or Kansas City or wherever you are, you don't want to you want to take advantage of the time and the place that you have where you are to sharpen your skills, so you have something to offer and you are prepared when you do move to those places. Chicago is such an incredible place to just write stuff and put it up and just get it out there and find your voice and figure out what you want to say and what you're good at, and figure out how to fail and just fail and fail and fail and fail, so that you can do anywhere, especially now when you have so many ways that you can put your stuff out there on social. You can shoot a short film on your phone. It's so much different than even when I was younger, where it was like, oh my gosh, if you wanted to do a short film, you needed to somehow rent equipment and get vampire mics, and it was just a whole thing. So now you can really put yourself out there. There's really like no excuse for putting your stuff out there, and that's how you learn, is just by putting it out there and seeing how people respond. So that's a long way of saying eventually you'll probably end up having to go to one of the coasts, but I don't know if I would advise someone to simply pack up and go to those cities with no portfolio in mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to be a writer, if you want to create television and film that way. You can't just show up and be a pretty face.
That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
So what are some future plans of yours? Are there projects in the works? Is there anything you can or cannot say?
There's another thing I'm doing I can't talk about. That's the thing that sucks about you can't really say anything. But right now I'm just really going to enjoy this. We can't really have a premiere, which is disappointing. But if that's the worst thing that happens to us through all this, that's fine. So I'm just kind of enjoying this time before the show premieres, and just getting to share it with everyone, and it's so great to be in Chicago, and getting to see people and stuff like that. So as far as what's next, you kind of always have to keep going. So even though I have this wonderful project that I'm so excited about, I'm still working on pitches. I'm still auditioning. I'm still, you still have to keep going and going and going and going. So it's never just like, I did it, I'm done. And that's the worst part and the best part about being in this industry.
What is your dream job right now?
Ugh. Anything that can afford me a lake house. I really would love to somehow make a ton of money and get to have a house on a lake. That's all I want. So that was what my head said, how to answer that question.
That's good. A lake house is perfect.
Yeah, that's what I want.
What or who are your influences? It could be, a person, famous or otherwise, books, podcasts. What is something that inspired you to get started? What inspires you to keep going?
It's really my family. I think a lot of comedians and performers say that, it was growing up in a very, very funny and loud and chaotic home that really shapes you and introduces you to the people that later will become beloved characters, that you create. So that would be the first one. And then I have to say there are so many people who came through before and during and after me at Second City. Second City is obviously in a different spot than it was when I was there. But I really was I found a lot of influence from people who had kind of walked the same boards that I was walking. I remember George Wendt came to stop by, and he was with his whole cast from the 80s, and he stopped by, and we were just talking, we were having a drink, we were just talking. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him about how scared I was to leave, and I admitted to him, I said, growing up, this is all I wanted. I wanted to do Second City. And then I had no idea what I wanted to do after that. And then now now I'm 30 and I'm not dead and I got to do something. And I was like, I just don't know what to do. And he grabbed me. He just grabbed me. He was like, I was the same way. He grew up in Beverly. He was like, I was the same way. This is all I wanted to do. And he was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And then the next thing you know, I'm sitting on a bar stool saying lines written by the greatest writers ever, and he really gave me that faith. So for me, a lot of the influence I had was just people have influenced me to keep going and have faith that if you're kind and you work hard, that's something Conan said, but it's very true. Things tend to work out. I've always been very, very grateful for that, to be part of that community that really does try to help each other in that way.
That's beautiful. And Team Coco all the way.
Team Coco all the way. You have to be, right?
Yes. You guys have to think of like a hashtag, like for it's like that way you guys can have like team shy parent or shy parent or I don't know.
Yeah, it's so funny because every time I'm like, "Ooh, we should do this," and then I'm like, "Oh, wait, Netflix has more information, and they know more about what people want and how to market things than anybody." So I'm kind of like, I guess I'll leave it up to them. But I'm sure they will come up with the best hashtag. I'm sure we'll do some kind of like fun virtual event when the show actually does come out. So
yeah, because you mentioned IO. I don't think you guys can use hashtag CPA because there's CPAs out there.
I know, and it's so confusing too, because if you say CPA, people are like, is the show about an accountant? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, like CPA doesn't work, but we'll figure it out. We will.
All right, I'm definitely going to be following that forever. I want to stay in the know. This idea is so good because there's so many characters. You know what I mean? Like there's New York and LA, there's these types of characters that you see time and time again. And for Chicago, there are Chicago types of characters that we know and recognize, but not known beyond Chicago. So that's why I'm excited about this as well. There's so much possibility because I do think we have stories to tell. People that grew up here. So that's why I'm like, yes, this could be the glass ceiling breaker or the bar ceiling. Who knows?
The bar ceiling. Yeah, that's more like it. I think too, it's great to, I think when people think of Chicago, just very rudimentary idea of it, they think of the super fans from SNL, or they think of the horrific things that they see on the news or that politicians spout about the city, and it gives you a very distorted image of what really goes on in Chicago, during the day to day, and it was really lovely to get to dig into that, because while Chicago Party Aunt, on Twitter, if you're only familiar with her on Twitter, she's kind of raunchy and she is definitely that. But I hope we made a show that has a lot of heart, and at the end of the day is about being loyal to your family and your friends, and that's what we tried to really instill in Diane, as opposed to just, she banged Tom Skilling, which is, a part of it.
Oh my God, I just thought of a terrible joke. With her name being Diane, I was going to say, we're going to Diane laughing.
We're going to die and laughing. No, I mean, these are great. Again, if you want to submit them, I'm sure Netflix would really much appreciate it. Awesome. We need help.
Awesome. Just a couple more questions.
Sure.
Where is your favorite place here in the Chicago Southland, as it's called? Restaurant, park, the more little known, the better, because I feel like we need to spotlight, as much as possible the little guys.
You know what as far as businesses are concerned, I have to be honest, I don't know that much because I'm just not there as much. I don't know what's there anymore. Mm-hmm. But the other day I was thinking about, do you know where Lake Tampier is? It's on 131st. There's so many beautiful like parks and forest preserves that I always forget about. And I'm like, why am I sitting here? Like if I go visit my dad, I'm like, why am I sitting here with my dog? Why aren't we out and like exploring this stuff? And I just remember Lake Tampier being this beautiful place, like this beautiful picturesque place that you could go and like look at wildlife and, in the middle of the suburbs. So
I just found it. It's Sandburg's on 131st, LaGrange. And I just realized I have been to Tampier with my child, but I just didn't realize it. I've driven past it a billion times. It's beautiful, just like beautiful. Driving past.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, so I don't know. I just there's a lot of like nature out there, which I don't think that we remember like Little Red Schoolhouse and all that and Payless.
No, because again, I didn't grow up with any of this. I was such a city kid. So I swear these last 3 years, like that's the biggest thing that I found about down here. It's the nature. There's so much more
There's so
nature.
much nature. It's crazy. So that's always what I think is so cool about because you think suburbs and you're like, ugh, it's just Target and whatever, and it is that. But there really is some beautiful nature preserves and lakes and stuff. So that's really what I would recommend.
To be honest, I actually grew up on the north side in Edgewater. So
Oh, okay.
my blog exists because I was so clueless. I don't know where to
Yeah.
go for this and this. I didn't know about Punishkin until I got
Oh
married.
yeah. You just can get that from Orland Bakery. Fleckenstein's is really good. That's where we get our birthday cakes. Always Red Hots. I would also recommend that.
Is there anything else I haven't asked that you would like people to know about?
Well, I can only speak about me. I can't speak about anyone else, but I think it's important to know that, I'm just a dummy who went to Sandburg. I don't have like rich parents. I don't have famous parents. I don't, but I was able to pursue what I wanted to pursue and I'm doing okay at it. And I think I know the reason why that was possible was because I had a lot of help along the way. And so um, I just, I'm just really, really grateful for that, for everyone. I mean, I had such a wonderful education at Sandburg. I went to Northwestern and I think I learned way more at Sandburg. Like, I really do. It was just such a wonderful school. I'm so grateful for that. That school really gave me an excellent foundation going forward. So that's a little shout out. A little shout out to those Eagles.
Funny story. My husband grew up here almost all his life, and he told me that the prettiest girls go to Sandburg.
Thank you.
So
I'll
in
take
case you didn't
it.
know, I found that out.
Wait, did he go to Sandburg?
No, he went to Andrew High School.
Yeah, they're the lightning bolts. Those three schools, Andrew, Sandburg, and Stagg, are just they're such good schools.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the pretty girls go to Sandburg.
Awesome. Well, you're definitely ready for the big time.
Ready. We're ready for the
You're
big
glammed
time.
up.
I'm all glammed up, and now I get to like, I don't know, wash my face and go work on my computer.
Good times. Netflix and chill.
I have to literally like Netflix and chill, but it's not chill because I'm the one who's like making the Netflix as opposed to just watching the Netflix. But yeah, so September 17th.
This is great.
That's when it
So
comes out.
excited. Thank you so much for
Oh my
letting
God,
me
thank
interview you.
you. Of
And
course.
I wish you so much success. I have a
Thank
good feeling, but
you.
I really hope I don't jinx it.
No, you know what? We'll just, what you just said. You said, I have a good feeling, and then we'll make our little signs of the cross. We'll poof, poof, and then, we got it. We got it. But thank you. It was really lovely to meet you.
Likewise. Well, you have a lot to do. Thank you again. And
Oh,
yes, I will
no
send you
problem.
guys a copy of the video. And yes, we will do this properly. And yes, I have time, thank God. Because seriously, being a mom, there's like so many things. It's like, whew, like
I
trying to cram everything like that you want to do in a day is like,
I just have a dog, and I don't have any time, so I can't imagine.
whew. Bye.